Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley. Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders. Appreciate everybody being in here. Had some good games on Wednesday evening. A couple of them were pretty anticipated games. One, the Iowa State-Kansas game, was very anticipated. But really some good matchups within the Big 12. Had 4 matchups. We're going to break all that down for you and what we saw. But before we do, remember, everybody, continue to like, follow, subscribe, continue to hit that notification bell, and dive into those comments. We absolutely love the back and forth with you guys, so we appreciate you. So let's get into this. First up, the Kansas-Iowa State game. Look, I thought Iowa State, first of all, Iowa State it seemed like kind of a lackluster effort from Kansas. Now, when I say that, I am in no way taking away from Iowa State's win. I mean, 74-57, they out-rebounded KU. They were the more physical team over KU. It just seemed like the game meant more to Iowa State than it did KU. It just did. And again, I'm not taking anything away from Iowa State's win. They are the better basketball team at this particular moment. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. They are the better team. But it just seemed like when things were getting close that Iowa State just surged, and it seemed like KU just, I don't know, it just seemed uninterested in getting into the fight when things got close. So when I say lackluster, that's what I'm talking about. But make no mistake, Iowa State took it to it. They were without, and I think his name is pronounced Mosilovic. And if it's not, I apologize. Again, I think that's how you pronounce it. But if it isn't, I apologize. But Iowa State was without him. That's a 10-point per game score that they didn't have. Now, I understand the game's at home. And Iowa State, to me, not to me, Iowa State's the better basketball team right now. They just are. And we'll get into a couple of things after we kind of go over the breakdown on why I think that is a good thing for Iowa State and the Big 12 Conference. But Kansas got to play better, man. They got to play better. If they're going to be, and Bill Self, to me, still the best coach in the country, but seems like he's being a little bit too loyal to certain guys on his team that are not producing at this particular moment. Seems like he's got to, figure out a way to get some of these other guys on the court. He's got these transfers. He went out and got them. Well, if you went and got them, maybe you got to play them a little bit more, get them on the court. I don't know. But, I mean, I'm not saying Kansas is struggling, but when they play good competition, especially Iowa State on the road, if you're going to have this kind of effort, you're not going to win. They didn't shoot it well. But, again, give all the credit to Iowa State. As of right now, they're just better than KU. Just flat out better. They've won 12 straight games. I don't even think Iowa State's peaking. I really don't. I mean, they played a good game, but this is not their top level. Not even close to Iowa State's top level. They got several more gears and heights that they can get to. Again, it's mid-January. Plenty of time to get better. But Iowa State was rolled in this basketball game. Next up, Houston against West Virginia. West Virginia, sneaky good this year. Sneaky good. The only game besides this one, look, they got handled by Houston, 70-64. Houston got away, up 13 at the half. West Virginia fought back early, and then Houston hit them back. About midway through the second half, they took control, and the game never got close after that. But West Virginia's sneaky good. They had a horrible shooting night against Arizona, and they let that game get away. But other than that, the losses that they've had, including this one, have been to teams that are in the top 25 in the net. So they're doing fine. West Virginia is one of those sneaky teams. Had the injury bug hit them a little bit as well. But they're maybe the big surprise of the Big 12 Conference so far. Again, we got a long way to go in this conference. A long way to go. But as of now, keep your eye on West Virginia. Houston, on the other hand, does what Houston does. They were more physical. They didn't turn it over on the road. Jawan Roberts was just a man, hit 10 of 13 shots, 22 points. Again, Houston just kind of did what they do. If Houston is going to continue shooting the ball at this rate, the way, and I don't even think they shot it great, but if they're going to continue to shoot the ball like they have all year, you're going to have a tough time beating Houston. You're going to have a tough time beating them. But like I mentioned, West Virginia, one of the surprise teams in the Big 12 this year. Keep your eye on them, and keep your eye on Houston because they're a really good basketball team. Utah goes on the road. Big road win over TCU, 73-65. Basically, they were able to offset the turnover. They lost the turnover margin, but they out-rebounded TCU on the road. And TCU is a decent rebounding team at home, but Utah seemed like the more aggressor and came out with a big win. Gabe Madsen poured in 17 points. It was just it's a good, solid win because I'm not sure there's a lot of people that thought Utah was going to be that good, and they still might not be. But this is a good, solid road win for Utah. Again, I don't know how great TCU is. I know TCU has fought in some games and won some games here and there. But if you're trying to make the tournament and be one of the mid-tier teams in the Big 12 and maybe be that 7th, 8th, 9th team to get into the tournament, if Utah has any aspirations on that, this is a basketball game that you have to win, and they went and did that. Good for them. Moving on, and for the last game of the night, Cincinnati ends a 4-game losing streak, going on the road and beating Colorado. Look, Cincinnati so far has been one of the teams, for me, that has been a disappointment in the Big 12 so far. I thought they were going to be better. Now, the net didn't necessarily like them all that much, after non-con and all that. I liked Cincinnati. I thought Cincinnati was going to be one of those teams, and then they lost 4 in a row, and I'm like, oh, wow, man, I was way off. And maybe this is what kickstarts them to get them turned around on the right frame of mind. Got to play better, though. They've got to play better, and maybe this will be the start to that. They shot the 3 ball. Look, that game against Kansas was just abysmal. 40 points in a college basketball game is downright despicable. And that's what they did the last time out, scoring 40 points against Kansas. Just shot the ball horrible. From 3, they shot 13%. Now, I know Kansas only shot 9% in the game, but 13% is downright despicable. They were able to shoot 35% tonight, made 8 threes, and that can change some things, And so I just think Cincinnati is better than what they've put out on the court. I say that. They keep losing games. How many times am I going to keep saying that? Okay, well, you're better, but you keep losing. Maybe this will be the turnaround. Again, I've mentioned this a couple of times. Long way to go as far as being in conference play, just basically 2 months to go in this thing. So we got a long way to go, and Cincinnati can get this thing turned around. Colorado at home. Colorado, look, a lot of people weren't thinking a lot about Colorado. They came out, and I think they had a better non-conference than what people anticipated. But when you get 3 guys drafted, and then you have the guys that, transferred out, it's tough. It's tough, but they're putting up a fight. I'm not sure how much it will be. We'll see moving on in the Big 12 season how good Colorado can be and how many wins they can get in this thing. So now, as I mentioned before, I was talking about Iowa State. And I think it's important that Iowa State, I don't want to necessarily say take the lead, but the conference has to have somebody out in front. Kansas, as of right now, is not that team this year. They're just not. They've won some games, don't get me wrong. But as far as being the lead dog in this conference, it's good to have fresh blood. Not to mention, Iowa State, I think, has a horrible taste in its mouth from the way last year ended. Because they're thinking we should have been in the Final Four. And it ended in the Sweet 16 in a game that they didn't play great. And they got a lot of those guys back. And I think they're like, okay, enough's enough. We're supposed to be a really good team. We need to go out and play like we're a really good team. And we need to be the lead dogs in this conference. Now, Kansas will have something to say about this before the end of the season. So will Arizona. So will Houston. Maybe Baylor. I don't know. Baylor seems to be slipping a little bit here. Again, a lot of basketball left, but they seem to be slipping. So we'll see as the season goes on. But I like the fact that Iowa State has kind of taken the lead and said, hold your horses. We're here. This is what we're doing. Pay attention to us. The Big 12 is just fine. Yeah, the Big 12's got a bunch of good teams in it, but we are the best team. And I think Iowa State and Houston can take that mantle this year. Again, I still believe that Bill Self is going to make the necessary adjustments, and they're going to have something to say about this before it's all said and done. But if you looked at that game last night between Iowa State and Kansas, it's like, where is the scoring going to come from unless Bill Self makes a huge adjustment and puts other guys in the game that haven't been playing bigger minutes this season? If he does that, and I'm not saying he won't, then the outlook for Kansas will be different. But if they continue down this path, Kansas is not a Sweet 16 team. They're just not. They're not. But what I said before, I still believe Bill Self is the best coach in the country, and I believe that he will make those necessary changes because he's going to say, hey, this isn't working like this. And I know there's a ton of Kansas fans out there that said Bill Self is being too loyal to people that aren't getting it done. Sooner or later, he's going to say, I'm not going to continue losing games by being loyal to guys that aren't getting it done. I'll give you a chance, but I'm not going to let this thing just continue to go. And I think they're getting to that point. Last night was kind of indicative of that. Hunter Dickinson also got to give more effort too. Hey, let's just be honest. There were a couple of plays he's not giving effort. Now, he brings you nothing on defense anyway. But now you're not going to give effort, letting a ball that you think might go out of bounds so you don't go after it. Iowa State dives on it. They get it, and they score. It's just, come on, man. Come on, man. It's not working. But I love the fact that Iowa State is hungry. They're playing aggressive. They're not resting on their laurels. They're like, hey, yeah, we're good, but we're trying to be the best. We're trying to get better each and every week. They have that mindset. Houston has that mindset. It seems that Arizona may have figured some things out after some losses early. They are looking like they have that mindset. So, because Arizona's winning games and they're not shooting the ball that well in some of these games that they're winning. So, be interesting. Saturday, good matchups coming up. Some good matchups. We'll go over that tomorrow. Appreciate everybody. This is a short one today, but again, as we get into covering basketball, the games come up. We'll talk about them, have a little bit to say about the conference, and we'll move on from there. So appreciate you guys. Thank you as always, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.